The Nuremberg trial was, of course, an international trial. And after the United States and Great Britain had made their opening statements and presented evidence, the French took over. They shared presentation of counts 3 and 4 with the Soviets. The French had suffered greatly during the war, although under the German-run Vichy government, France had also supported Hitler's great crimes. Francois de Menthon was the chief prosecutor at the time. He delivered his country's opening statement for the French, but he soon left the trial, and he turned the job over to Auguste Champitella de Rive. The new prosecutor was one of the few members of the French cabinet who had opposed yielding to Hitler's demands, and he became a member of the French resistance.
Monsieur le Président, Messieurs les juges.
The conscience of the peoples who only yesterday were enslaved and tortured, both in soul and body, calls upon you to judge and to condemn the most monstrous attempt at domination and barbarism of all times, both in the persons of some of those who bear the chief responsibility and in the collective groups and organizations which were the essential instruments of their crimes. France, invaded twice in 30 years in the course of wars, both of which were launched by German imperialism, bore almost alone in May and June of 1940 the weight of armaments accumulated by Nazi Germany over a period of years in a spirit of aggression. Although temporarily crushed by superiority in numbers, material, and preparation, my country never gave up the battle for freedom and was at no time absent from the field. The engagements undertaken and the will for national independence would have sufficed to keep France behind General de Gaulle in the camp of the democratic nations. I propose today to prove to you that all this organized and vast criminality springs from what I may be allowed to call a crime against the spirit. I mean a doctrine that, denying all spiritual, rational, or moral values by which the nations have tried for thousands of years to improve human conditions, aims to plunge humanity back into barbarism. No longer the natural and spontaneous barbarism of primitive nations, but into a diabolical barbarism, conscious of itself and utilizing for its ends all material means put at the disposal of mankind by contemporary science. This sin against the spirit is the original sin of National Socialism, from which all crimes spring. This monstrous doctrine is that of racialism. The German race, composed in theory of Aryans, would be a fundamental and natural concept. Germans as individuals do not exist and cannot justify their existence, except insofar as they belong to the race, or Volksstamm, to the popular mass which represents and amalgamates all Germans. Race is the matrix of the German people. Proceeding therefrom, this people lives and develops as an organism. The German may consider himself only as a healthy and vigorous member of this body, fulfilling within the collectivity a definite technical function. His activity and his usefulness are the exact gauge and justification of his liberty. This national body must be molded to prepare it for a permanent struggle. The ideas and the bodily symbols of racialism form an integral part of its political system. This is what is called authoritative or dictatorial biology. The dictatorial regime instituted by Hitler and his companions carries with it for all Germans the soldier life, that is to say, a kind and a system of life entirely different from that of the bourgeois West and the proletarian East. It amounted to a permanent and complete mobilization of individual and collective energies. This integral militarization presupposed complete uniformity of thoughts and actions. It is a militarization that conforms to the Prussian tradition of discipline.
La qualification pénale des faits peut paraître se heurter davantage à des objections juridiques. Cette horrible accumulation, enchevêtrement de crimes contre l'humanité englobe et déborde à la fois les deux notions juridiquement plus précises de crime contre la paix et de crime de guerre. Mais je pense, et j'y reviendrai par la suite séparément, pour le crime contre la paix et pour le crime de guerre, que cet ensemble de crimes contre l'humanité ne constitue en définitive rien d'autre que la perpétration à des fins politiques et sous une forme systématique de crimes de droit commun tels que vol, pillage, mauvais traitement, mise en esclavage, meurtre, assassinat, crimes prévus et sanctionnés par le droit pénal de tous les États civilisés. Aucune objection générale d'ordre juridique ne semble donc entraver votre œuvre de justice. Au surplus, les inculpés nazis ne seraient pas habilités à arguer d'une prétendue absence de texte écrit pour fonder la qualification pénale que vous donnerez à leur forfait. La doctrine juridique du national-socialiste n'avait-elle pas admis qu'en droit pénal interne, même le juge peut et doit compléter la loi? La loi écrite ne constituait plus la magna charta du malfaiteur. Le juge pouvait punir lorsqu'en l'absence de punition, le sentiment d'équité nationale socialiste se trouvait gravement offensé. Comment le juge du régime nazi devait-il compléter la loi?